lost my sister, Phoebe, to meningitis, and she was 8 months pregnant, and nothing was ever done to investigate the hospital that we lost her at. But I want to share a little bit of the history of why I allowed LMNOPI to paint me. It's really weird to see my face this big. People ask me, it's weird. So I just want to share a little of the history of what I know and how it relates back to home, and why we remain on reservations. And so to start off, LMNOPI had asked me if she could paint me, and I didn't think it was going to be a big scale, and so I was, kind of like, yeah, sure, of course. And then she let me know that it was going to be a mural here. And she asked me what I thought about what's a special place to me. And a special place to me is the Wind River, and that's home to me. My parents would drop us off on the reservation every summer. We lived in Denver, and then they'd drop us off on the res every summer, and that's where we spent our summers running from res dogs and playing around and being wild little kids in the dirt and playing in the river. And recently I started leading expeditions through the mountains, and this space right here specifically is depicting 2 Indian passes that I took basically children through, and so it was very intimidating and scary for me. And so that's why she picked this specific topical graph portion of the graph. And also I wanted to give a little bit of history of the Arapaho people. Originally, where Coors Field is built, that is where our people would camp, in that area, and we were pushed up to Boulder, and so we stayed in Boulder until Boulder was founded illegally on basically treaty land. And Chief Niwot, and I don't know if you've ever heard that city before, it means left hand. Chief Niwot was pushed to the Sand Creek, and where he was murdered at the Sand Creek Massacre. And so the Arapaho people were pushed to the Wind River Reservation and also down to Oklahoma. And so being in Boulder is always a very powerful relation back to, I feel like, my bloodlines. And I have 2 homes, I think, and it's this area and also the Wind River Mountain Range. And last week I was in South Dakota, and I participated in a play, and it's called Sliver of a Full Moon, and it talks about the legal reasons as to why Native women are preyed upon. And it's because we no longer have jurisdiction. Well, it was taken in 1978. Jurisdiction was taken away from the tribal government to prosecute non-natives. And so if a man had raped a woman on the reservation, killed her on the reservation, domestic violence on the reservation, he was not held accountable because there was no jurisdiction. Everybody was always fighting, oh, is this state jurisdiction? Is it federal jurisdiction? And in the end, it's just, the government's a big thing, and no one's going to go investigate it to that level. And so in 2013, the Violence Against Women's Act was passed. However, they use the term Indian land, and Indian land is no longer an accepted term in Alaska because they are now corporations, and there's no longer reservations in Alaska. So there are 228 indigenous tribes in Alaska that no longer have Indian land. And so in the Violence Against Women's Act, they use that term they use that term Indian land, and so Violence Against Women's Act is not, it doesn't apply to Alaska. So 228 tribes in Alaska do not have jurisdiction over men who go and prey upon the women in that area. And with the Violence Against Women Act, VAWA, we only have jurisdiction over domestic violence. It's still not over murder. and it's not, if a woman is raped, there's still no jurisdiction over that. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to read a portion of the play that I played Lisa Berner, and these are true women that have experienced these true stories, and so I feel like their voices need to be heard. And the writer of this is Mary Catherine Nagel, and she does a lot of awesome playwrights, and so I just wanted to read you this portion. And this is from Lisa. My daughter was raped this past summer. Even though they wore bandanas, my daughter recognized their white skin and blonde hair. They were doing what I call hunting on our reservation. Non-natives know they could come onto our lands and rape and abuse our women with impunity. My daughter was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. She didn't come and tell me right away. She washed it, and she hid it. That summer, we had another little girl who was raped. Nothing was done. The state did nothing. So she hung herself. Our suicide rate on our reservation is quite huge, as it is in all of Indian country. So my daughter, hearing of all the stories about this little girl being raped and her death, she finally broke and told me what happened to her. My daughters know better. They don't try and party. We know the dangers of our environment. We know that. We know that we are a walking bullseye. We're not just the target. We're a walking bullseye. And so she went out in the middle of the night to go find my niece. She didn't want my niece to get in trouble for being out late, because she would have. And as my daughter walked down the road, 4 white guys in a black leather SUV with tan leather interior were trying to get her into the vehicle, and she said no. Just that she just kept walking. And this is the only biggest town we have on our reservation, population maybe 1,000. And she's walking, and they're getting more persistent. She takes off running, and they chased her down. 2 guys, they jumped out of the vehicle, they drug her to it, and so 1 was driving, 2 held her down, and the 4th one raped her. And they had bandanas on over their faces. But she seen their white skin and blue eyes and blonde hair. And when they were done, they threw her out by the bridge. And as a mom, that more than took the wind out of me. That slammed me to the earth with an ungodly speed, and all the measures that I had tried to protect her didn't work. My daughter isn't an animal that is hunted. She is a human being. And so these are the types of issues that happen on a regular basis on the reservation, because people are not held accountable because of the justice system, basically. And so I wanted to raise awareness to that issue, that it's not because it's just happening. It's because no one is held accountable. That's why it's happening. And I just want to thank LMNOPI again for the depiction and the very prominent marks that she has all over the mural. It's heartbreaking, but it's the reality of what we face. And I just hope that with this information that I've shared with you, you could take it back to your communities. Maybe if your teachers teach the kids the correct history about Boulder and about Denver, how it was founded, and about the common issues that Native American women face. So if anything, please share what I've shared with you, and if you have any questions, I'll be around. So thank you for your time. Again, thank you, Mom, for being here. I love you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.